Greetings once again to everyone on the other side, and I hope you are being blessed by these short episodes we're making, but I think they're concise, right?
Exactly. Straight to the point, and it's also easier to remember and connect these points, right? From one to another, from one to another. That way, we create the chronology.
We make the chronology clear, short, concise, and we go straight to the point. Today is day 3, and we saw yesterday that Jesus had quite a lot of work. But today is the busiest day. Today is the day where I think he even has to work much more, because in the evening he wants to spend private time with the disciples.
But clarify for us what kind of work. It's not work, right?
No.
Physical.
What is the work? It's spiritual work. It's work. Let's remember, and we always make the comparison with the Old Testament. In the Old Testament, according to the book of Exodus, we remember that the Exodus from Egypt is what the people remember every Passover, and it's what they remembered in the time of Jesus. In the time of Jesus, they were still remembering the liberation from Egypt. They were not remembering the spiritual liberation that comes through Jesus because they did not recognize him yet. In fact, he had not yet been fulfilled. In fact, he had not yet become the redemption in order to redeem them. That will happen later on. But up until that moment, even Jesus himself is celebrating with them the liberation of the people from slavery in Egypt. And so what he specifically had to do was to be tested just as the lamb was tested before the high priest. And when I say that he worked a lot, it was because he was being attacked. He was really being tested,
Judged,
exactly,
tempted.
Let's see where we catch him. Let's see where he slips up. So, look how the sun came out, the construction back there, and maybe you can barely even see us anymore.
I hope you can still see.
Yes.
Let's take it out just a little bit.
There we go. We're blocking the sun. But it's good. It's good because, look, like we said, this is unedited footage because we're doing it in a single shot from start to finish because we don't want to edit, because we don't want to show a lot of changing images or anything like that, but rather for you to really see the city of Jerusalem. Special, better, special. And especially this week, so that you can also prepare yourselves there, learn a little more about the last week of Jesus, and focus directly on what we're saying and not so much on the images that keep changing. So we said,
Jesus is tested.
He was being tested.
But in a cunning way.
Exactly.
Because it was to see where he could change.
Exactly. And when we say it was the busiest day, it's because that's the day when almost everyone is going to start attacking him. And it was there, behind those walls where, let's remember again, the Golden Dome didn't exist. What you could see there was the temple.
Herod's temple.
The one Herod had rebuilt, obviously based on the story of Solomon's temple, possibly on the same building. But we are also told, according to Flavius Josephus, that King Herod's temple was 3 times bigger than Solomon's as well. And what's more, look, maybe you're having a little trouble seeing what's going on over there. But the Bible also, no, not the Bible, sorry. Flavius Josephus tells us that everyone who came here, exactly where you are looking, and if we turn our backs, look over there. He says that they couldn't see, that their eyes could go blind from the reflection that radiated from the temple because of the gold covering it had. If you came in the morning hours because the sun rose from there, then the sun would reflect on the gold and the gold would shine this way, right? Well, now we have the sun on the opposite side. It's setting, it's going down. But anyway, that was just a side note. So Jesus was being specifically tested that day. Tested why? Why don't we read how they started the day?
Exactly.
Actually. And then we go in. How does the day go on? We said that night they had spent it, Jesus had spent it in Bethany, that he was probably still sleeping and staying at Lazarus's house. He was there. Okay, so we're in the book of Matthew.
Yes, no, we're going to talk about Mark so that Mark.
Yes.
I lost track of where it was. Wait a moment. I have an idea where it is.
We are at 11:18.
Yes.
Wait, it's just that you have the bilingual layout. You're looking at the Hebrew and the Spanish. And I can assure you, it's not as easy as it looks.
The fig tree. Now I found it.
That's how the day begins.
Exactly.
They were sleeping in Bethany.
That's how it was.
But when morning comes, they wake up and the day begins.
Jesus left the city, okay?
And he left the city of Jerusalem.
From Jerusalem. And he possibly went to Bethany.
As we said, exactly.
And passing by in the morning, they saw that the fig tree, which we had talked about the day before, had withered from the roots. Then Peter, remembering, said to him, "Teacher, look at the fig tree you cursed. It has withered." Jesus answered them, saying, "Have faith in God. For truly I tell you that whoever says to this mountain, 'Be removed and cast into the sea,' and does not doubt in their heart, but believes, it will be done as they say. What they say will be done for them. Therefore I tell you that whatever you ask for in prayer, believe that you will receive it, and it will be yours."
In short, the day before, as we saw on day 2, Jesus was hungry. Appetite, or rather a craving, right? Because he saw the tree and said, "A fig tree. You like figs, don't you?"
Yes, I love it. It's my favorite.
It's a special seasonal item, not available year-round.
No, exactly.
Exactly. It's a special season. You wait all year for that fruit. I think that's what happened to Jesus. He waited all year for it to be ready. Exactly.
Right now.
In these days, with just a few hours left ahead of me, how could I not enjoy this delicacy?
Yes.
And then he ends up getting angry because the fig tree didn't have figs.
Yes, sometimes it seems a bit unfair to us saying, how is that the fig tree's fault, that it didn't bear fruit at that moment? I mean, yes.
But we're speaking in non-biblical terms. Of course. We use the word moral in some video out there, right? Well, and Jesus actually wasn't giving a moral lesson. He was teaching us about what doesn't bear fruit. And so what doesn't bear fruit ends up eventually drying up.
Yes.
So it's not that he's wishing harm upon it.
No.
He's showing us this. Look at what he tells the disciples. Truly, truly, I say to you. And he's also telling them that the power is in the word. He's saying, if you say this, this will happen. So he's telling them, I cursed. Because he's also saying that the mouth has power to curse, but also to bless. So if I cursed, this is the result. And it was immediate. 24 hours passed. Not only did they see it without fruit, but they saw it dried up. But how can you suddenly dry up, right? Either a strong frost hit you and dried you up, or you had a sudden cold. Yes, but still, like a tree you dried up. But it was the only one that dried up because it was the one that caught their attention. This is the one he cursed yesterday, and today we passed by again and saw it's dry. They keep walking. Jesus has already started teaching and working since early morning. They arrive at the city of Jerusalem, enter inside those walls, and groups start coming one by one. The Sadducees come and start asking him about the resurrection. Jesus gives them an answer. Then the Pharisees come. The Pharisees start saying to him, it is right to give money to Caesar. And Jesus gives them an answer. Then the Herodians come, and so on. Some come, then others, and others, and others, and they find absolutely nothing against Jesus. And on top of that, they start asking him, but if you are the Christ, why don't you tell us? And he is precisely telling them, I've already told you and you don't realize it, right? I mean, what more do you need to believe? And notice that even in those days, they end up saying to him, give us proof, give us proof, give us proof, give us proof. And do you remember that they asked him for one of the proofs? They had previously asked him for proof, but not that day. But the same group of people had asked him for proof.
A sign.
A sign, yes. The sign was that Lazarus had died, which was the most crucial proof of the resurrection.
The miracle of the resurrection.
The miracle of the resurrection. So, What does he tell them? It wasn't that day, but what I want to tell you is that there were a lot of people who were always telling him, show us. How much more does Jesus need to say? Do I really have to prove it? I've already proven it. Why do you keep asking me if I am the Messiah? If I already proved it to you, why does he tell them that? Because he is telling them and reminding them of something that was in the book of Isaiah, which Isaiah himself says, when these miracles are seen in the city of Jerusalem, it means that the Messiah is already here. And the miracles were, the blind see, the lame walk, and the leper is healed. The 3 miracles were seen in Jerusalem. And that day, Jesus was not only confronted, but he also performed miracles. Because the Bible reminds us that on that very day, there were also many miracles. On the 3rd day that Jesus was here in the city of Jerusalem, he performed many miracles. I don't know how many hours it was, but they started in the morning. I don't think it was 10 or 11. I think it was earlier. Early.
6
in the morning, possibly earlier, 5 in the morning. They were already making the little fire outside to heat up the bread. Yeah, remember that these were the unleavened bread which they could still eat.
They could eat it with yeast.
With yeast. They could still eat bread with yeast, so
On the side, they were cooking a pita. Who knows?
possibly the bread was puffed up and they put some things inside and everything else, and then they ate. It's early. That started early. It was spring. The animals went outside. The shepherds were out and about. Again, there was a lot of movement that day in Jerusalem because it was the day when they could still inspect all the lambs. It was the day of the lamb inspection.
There was a lot of preparation. There was a lot of preparation before the day of the festival.
There was movement in the city of Jerusalem, unlike what we see today. Look at what, well,
It's a special date now, too. But anyway,
there's nothing. Now, what's interesting is that in the future, what we are going to see is not the image we have here in front of us. In the future, we will see the Jewish temple again. And what we are talking about now is that the sacrifices are going to return again. In fact, that day, what did Jesus do? Jesus leaves Jerusalem to get some rest because he worked a lot that day. He comes right to where we're standing now. Okay. Here, give or take a meter, right where we are.
now in it,
Where are we here? No. Over here?
on the Mount of Olives.
Mount of Olives? Sure. Can you stand here? Here you go. Otherwise, I look really tall.
Yeah, because we're standing on a little slope right now.
We're like this because we're on the hill. We're kind of on a downhill slope. This is the high part, and if we keep going in that direction, we'll get to the press area.
That's right, Ion Gethsemane.
The Garden of Gethsemane, where the olive was pressed, where the oil was pressed. And here, 2,000 years ago, everything we saw was not like this.
Definitely, this is all construction.
It was all olive trees.
Yes, and it was actually hilly terrain, little hills.
Exactly. Everything we had around us was mountains, olive trees, olive trees, olive trees, and the fruit down below. On day 6, we are going to arrive there, and we are going to go to the garden, specifically to the Garden of Gethsemane, where the presses were. So Jesus leaves the city of Jerusalem and comes toward the Mount of Olives. And here on the Mount of Olives, think about the fact that he doesn't go out alone. He goes out with everyone around him. A team of people around him who are his disciples, the 12, those closest to him. And let's remember that his disciples also had disciples. So that created a crowd of people.
It was impossible not to notice wherever you looked.
They're going after someone. I mean, all those people are following someone, right? And they were following him back then. Up to that point, some said he was the Son of God, some said a prophet. Until then, there was confusion. A rabbi. A great rabbi. Hey, what are you? A good man, a good teacher, a good teacher. You do good. You heal people? Tell us. Remember all the time, right? So they come here and sit somewhere around here. And when they sit somewhere around here, I think it would have been really interesting to sit around Jesus. You'd probably be one of the first to sit by him, right?
Obviously, yes.
When we go on tours with Lore, she always sticks close to the guide. I mean, she goes up front next to the guide because she wants to hear what the man is saying, right?
There's always something new to learn.
Yes, so imagine Jesus was their guide. He wasn't telling them this happened here, that happened there. He was actually telling them, in fact, what he was going to say that day was going to be very important. And that big question comes up, which we have in the book of Matthew. We're not going to read it because otherwise the video would get too long. But in chapter 24, where the disciples say to him, "Lord, tell us about the days to come." That is, about what the coming days and future will be like. And there he begins to give a prophetic lesson about the days to come. In fact, even just a few moments earlier, he talks about Jerusalem just as you see it, right?
Yes.
What does he say? Do you remember it? Jerusalem, how many times?
No, I wanted to gather you like a hen gathers her chicks, but you didn't want to.
You didn't want to. And behold, days will come upon you when there won't be what?
Stone upon stone.
Stone upon stone. Because you did not recognize the time of visitation. That was a prophetic word that was fulfilled about 30 or 40 years after he died and rose again. Why? Because Jerusalem, as we see it today, as we said, was not like that. So it ends up being besieged by Vespasian. It ends up being destroyed. The temple is destroyed. Everything inside is burned. The menorah disappears. The Ark of the Covenant disappears. Although there was no Ark of the Covenant, what we had there was a kind of replica, and that ends up going to Italy, specifically to Rome. In fact, when you visit Rome, they will take you to the Arch of Titus.
The famous Arch of Titus. Yes, yes.
And when you get to the Arch of Titus, the whole story is there. The conquest of Jerusalem, and you see the Romans taking the Ark, and behind it the menorah and everything else, right? And then you'll visit, and if you go to visit the Colosseum, it's said that the Roman Colosseum was built with the money they really stole. Yes, yes, yes.
They've also told me about the temple's destruction. Very interesting.
Exactly. So Jesus spoke about that time and said, this is what will happen.
This is what will happen.
And many said no. And that's where the religious leaders couldn't hold back. Those words from day 3, and that's when on day 4 they go to the Sanhedrin. They start murmuring among themselves, planning. And they start planning the conspiracy, which we'll talk about tomorrow. Tomorrow we'll talk about the conspiracy to kill Jesus. The plot.
Exactly, that's the word.
I was looking for that phrase and couldn't find it. The plot to kill Jesus. That might be tomorrow's title, right? The plot to kill Jesus. Look, watch it and wait for it because it's getting really interesting. So that's what happens with those who didn't agree with the words he said. But his disciples said to him, "Tell us what's coming. When will these things happen?" Because he spoke to them about the future, that not one stone will be left upon another, and all the rest. It was difficult for the disciples too, because it was the house of God. Yes, how is the house of God going to be destroyed? But well, he wasn't talking about that. He was talking about a kind of transition, but it was hard to understand at that time. Today we have more clarity about all of this.
And now we can read everything more smoothly, right?
Exactly. And even so, sometimes it confuses us. We get confused. But the point is that Jesus sat down that day and started to say, in the future, such things will happen. Nation will rise against nation. There will be famine. There will be plague. Son will rise against father. Father against son. There will be two. One will be in the field. The other will be taken. Woe to those who are pregnant. And he starts talking about all that future time, right? In fact, we are living in a time very, very close to what he talked about.
He spoke so many years ago, yes.
Of all the things he said, many of them have already been fulfilled. Let's see, nation will rise against nation, which is exactly what's happening to us right now. Well, we're making these episodes here, and right at this very moment, we have a conflict with Iran. We don't know how much longer this will last, right? And just now, we were walking up there, the two of us with the camera, and people come up to us, taxi drivers come up and talk to us in English because they think we're tourists. And they say, hey, why? Because there's no one else around here except us, those who come to the cemetery, and no one else. So, just to clarify that we're in times of conflict and that Jesus talked about this, that nation will rise against nation. So I don't know how much time will pass before we have a different image behind us. Just imagine that at some point we'll be talking here with footage here, and the view behind us will be different. We're going to experience that, right? Interesting.
I would like to.
I think we're going to live to see that time, so those of you who are there, stay very attentive and alert for what's coming in the future. Ultimately, Jesus finishes that afternoon on the Mount of Olives, tells them everything that is to come, and I think that the disciples,
Their minds were blown.
their minds were blown because he didn't give them good news. No, no. He spoke to them about the temple's destruction. The morning started well, but began with a message. The tree.
The fig tree.
The day already started off badly. Instead of and not.
Instead of having found, well, a piece of fruit on the fig tree, as if saying, well, make an effort and produce fruit. No.
On the contrary, no, the day already started badly, and that was a sign of how it might possibly end. And also that I think for the disciples, it was a kind of prelude to don't doubt what I'm telling you. Yes.
It is.
Because yesterday I said something and today it came true.
Everything I'm going to tell you,
Everything I'm going to tell you,
don't doubt that it will come true as well.
that's what's going to happen.
I don't know if it'll happen as quickly as this did, but if I say it, that's what's going to happen.
That's what's going to happen. I think the disciples didn't have a good night. They came back again. According to the biblical sequence, Jesus appears to return again, or at least probably does. We are not certain at that point, but he probably comes back again to Bethany. And why do I say probably? Because the next day he spends time at their house. Of course, tomorrow we will see this,
The day of rest,
so to speak, where I think he is resting. Yesterday we had a day where we ended up tense. Today I want to share with you.
it was also going to be the last time.
Calm, relaxed, let them forget.
Yes, forget.
But to share. Tomorrow we are going to see that. We are going to go into day 4 of Jesus' last week, what he did and what he didn't do. That's it for today, right? Yes.
Yes.
We started the video with the sun behind us, and we're ending the video with the sun behind us.
Yes, right? It hasn't set yet.
It hasn't set yet, and the camera is moving. Why is it moving? There it is, because it's getting confused with the whole thing about where's the image. So I stand there, and then the sun ends up right in the middle. Look, your hair color looks much redder
Then,
than usual. Family, thanks for staying with us. Lorena, will you say goodbye?
yes, see you tomorrow, God willing. And don't miss tomorrow's episode either. Bye. Bye.